So after getting the spokes out last week, I did run them through the sandblaster and they really did clean up fairly nicely. Many of you commented about why I had to take the time to chisel them all out. In the process of sandblasting, I found that there was some type of an adhesive that these spokes had been dipped into when they were driven into these hubs. And that's why it made it so difficult to get these out. I'm not really quite ready to start building wheels, so I'd like to get some of this stuff off of the bed. And it has what's called a continuous apron run on 2 chains on each side. And I'd like to get that chain and all these cross slats off of here. I don't want to get too aggressive too fast because I want to kind of learn how all this went together. So looking at some of these old pictures, this piece here I think is off of the top hood, and these other pieces here are off the back wheel, which would be the spreader itself. Some of these old pictures have been pretty helpful on how some of these things go. Either more off of the back beater, which actually pulverizes the manure as it gets spread. These rollers, I think, go with that apron somewhere. There's a number of these rollers that have been kind of loose. I've been picking them up as I take this apart. There's rollers down this side frame that actually carries the slats on this apron. And that's where these missing ones would be, kind of scattered throughout this. There's several more. This is off of the top frame on the right-hand side. Some of this stuff, I'm not sure if it applies to this or not. I think this does, but I'm not quite sure where yet. I'm not sure if this was to the rear hood. It's also possible that this was the seat bench. Well, there's the main frame, and then there's the first box board. Then this, I think, is the second. On the right side, these 2 box sides are still attached up front, and I'm going to try to leave them that way at the moment. Kind of helps me see perhaps how these were attached. A couple pretty heavy springs. I'm not sure if they pertain to this or not. Yeah, there's some feed tubes for a grain drill. Looks like maybe a mouse nest. On the right front side of this box, there's this iron here, this might be the vertical frame perhaps up the side of the box, but it looks like perhaps this is where the floorboard or the footboard of the driver would have set. So this is that iron here. It looks like the tabs where perhaps the footboard was bolted to have been broken off. This is the rod that hinges the seat irons that would have come across the top frame of this box side. And then this would have been the front of the manure spreader itself. There's some twisted wire that's been added. I don't know if this was original. I kind of doubt it, but I'm thinking maybe this was the footboard. This is the driver's seat iron. This is the driver's seat iron on the other side. This would have set up like so, and then the seat goes across here. And I'm thinking this was the replacement for the footboard iron on the left side, and I'm guessing that casting became missing or broke, and then this piece was forged, and this would have been the footboard for the seat. Looks to me like. There was a similar iron on the other side for this rod that held the seat irons coming to the top frame. I'm thinking probably set up about like so. This is a left-hand control arm. And then this is the box side that I think is the lower first side. This could have been the front of the manure spreader box. Be up here. This would have been the other side. So to bring this into the shop, I tied the tongue up with some wire that was there. I'm going to release that. I think I can roll this whole front assembly forward. And the goal is to access the front chain, the front roller chain, to this apron and all these boards. Big heavy spring. I'm just not sure they belong to this. The whole goal is to see if I could get this apron chain undone. I'm not sure if I can do it without taking some of these slats off here as well. They kind of bent back on themselves, so they usually come unhooked. There we go. Well, this reveals better how this inside center brace with all these rollers was jointed into this cross frame here. Yep, careful. Nice to see how that was done. This cross frame into this side brace, it looks like it's a blind tenon. It doesn't come through the outside, but there is a bolt maybe legged into it. And then these irons here are actually on both sides. You can see that they go diagonally to opposite corners, and then we're bolted into the outside edge of this rear cross frame, even though this one has been broken free. But part of their advertisement is that these have cross irons in them that guarantee that this box will always stay square. Well, these are those irons. Well, this center brace with all these rollers broke right in the middle. It's about to break right here because it was jointed into this cross frame. That ended up being kind of a weak spot. And then would have set up in the saddle just like the front across this rear frame. And then these rollers supported the center of this floor, or what was called the apron. So on this side, you can see all these rollers on the main frame that help this apron roll back. So on the front end, this is where the cross frame is, and we can see the head of a square bolt. And I'm seeing now that this had a hole drilled through, and the end of that bolt has a nut here. So this cross frame was held by this bolt sucked into this blind mortise and tenon. This one is the third one back, and you can see this is the bolt here. The nut was in this hole here, and then tightened on the bolt into the nut, which sucked these two together. It shows up here on the rear frame as well. This is the bolt that went into the hole that sucked this blind mortise and tenon together. Well, besides the advertisement that was expounding upon how well this box frame was built, it was also advertising how simple it was to operate. There's a handle on the left side and there's a handle on the right side, evidently both supposedly accessible by the driver. Well, one side would adjust the speed of the apron that fed the manure into the beater, and the other side would adjust the speed of the beater, as I understand it. So it looks to me like the left side must accommodate the speed of the apron. The right side looks like it goes back to the beater. So I don't know at this point exactly how this all works. There's some type of a pitman arm here. This is on somehow the speed of the beater. It's got a double dog system here that's tied into the apron dogs, and I still yet have to figure out how this all goes. I think this metal here was probably a patch. I'm not really sure. Part of unraveling the mystery. Well, the whole goal of opening this up and removing the framework is so that I could see how some of the internal framework went. This is the process of me being able to learn how they did it back then from taking apart the wagon, which is so common on all the wagons that I worked. This wagon, or this manure spreader, is teaching me how it was put together. So I find it really interesting. I've got a number of these rollers that were loose. I've got those in a can gathered up. We'll see if I have enough of them. But mainly just conceptualizing the mechanics of how this works. Some of the iron work in the back, all the gears and all that. I may have to lift this back axle up to get it into position to see how all this stuff works. All this picture is coming together, and I may have to pick this axle up in order to get the apron out completely. I'm going to replace all the wood, so if possible, I'll just cut it all off. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's kind of the process, kind of getting to know how this Great Western Smith Manufacturing manure spreader went together. Appreciate you coming along.